Welcome to Unsheltered Conversations, the podcast from HomeAid America, where we explore the partnerships, people, and solutions helping to build a future without homelessness. I'm Scott Larson, CEO of HomeAid America. Today, we're talking about something small but incredibly powerful, a diaper. For most parents, diapers are a routine part of raising a child. But for families experiencing homelessness or housing insecurity, diapers can represent something much bigger: stability, dignity, and the ability to keep moving forward. Through HomeAid's Essentials Diaper Drive, our affiliates and builder partners have come together to provide millions of diapers and essentials items, such as wipes and other items, to families in need across the country. Joining me today are two incredible leaders who have helped make this effort what it is today. Mandy Crater, Executive Director of HomeAid Georgia, and Cindy Bell, Executive Director of HomeAid Colorado. Mandy, Cindy, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here today.
Good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
And I'm glad that you're back again, because you both have been on the podcast before, and I'm excited about this conversation today. So Mandy, I would love to begin with you because this movement really started in Atlanta. Can you take us back to the beginning? What did you see that inspired HomeAid Georgia to launch what has become the Essentials Drive?
This is our 25th anniversary for our Essentials Drive and our 25th anniversary as an affiliate. So we've been doing it since we started. And that's part of the reason that we did it, is because when you first get started, you're looking for projects, you're starting to kind of do some outreach and meet some service providers that are providing housing and get more embedded in the building industry and just kind of make all those connections. And one of the things that HomeAid, I wasn't there in the beginning. I've been there for almost 11 years now, but not quite 25. But anyway, one of the things they noticed right away was the amount of nonprofits that were serving women and children and babies in particular, and just trying to be helpful right away. They came up with the idea we could have a diaper drive and we could have more than just the building industry support this effort. It could be a community-wide effort to get the word out there about who HomeAid is and what we do, and just kind of a way for all people to volunteer. Whether you have a skill or not, you can go purchase a diaper and help a mom in need.
You know, and Mandy, I remember I was with HomeAid Orange County at the time when the affiliate was started and the diaper drive began. And we were not doing that. We were not doing that type of a program. And it wasn't until a few years later that we started it in HomeAid Orange County. But was there a moment when you realized that this just wasn't a small need, but it was really something much bigger?
Yeah, it's been sort of building, and we've just learned more and more every year. I mean, the biggest thing is babies go through 8 to 12 diapers in a day. And in Georgia, the average cost is $80 to really closer to $100 now. And the other issue is nearly 45% of Georgia's children under the age of 3 live in families at less than 200% of the federal poverty level. So resources are tight. And then the other thing that I did not personally realize this, was there aren't any support systems, any safety net systems that provide for diapers and wipes. We called it our Essentials for Young Lives Drive because these are essential items, but there was no support system that would allow families to purchase these diapers. And they were making hard decisions. They were leaving diapers on babies for too long, causing health issues. But it was kind of deciding, do we pay rent? Do we buy diapers? Do we buy food? And those are impossible decisions.
You know, around that time, there was a study that actually Huggies put out that delved into exactly what you were talking about, and particularly the health aspects, both for the child as well as for the parent from a mental health standpoint, when they weren't properly diapering their baby. So what were service providers telling you when you began to look at this and look to meet this need?
Thank you. Primarily, I mean, it was just they're trying to be and do so many things for so many different people, and just having a little bit of help just made their resources go much further. We talked to them and they shared some stories about the people that ended up with the diapers. And one in particular at Crossroads Community Ministries, the lady just said, "God bless you. My baby was crying because of all the rashes when we were trying to be conserving diapers and trying to keep them on as long as possible. And it's just a blessing to be able to properly take care of your baby. So, I mean, that was the biggest thing. And then just understanding that they can use those resources to buy other things, to provide food or to go, take somebody to see a doctor that they may not have had the money to do. So it's just a small thing for a lot of people, but it makes such a huge difference when you're one of those moms that can't quite buy diapers. The other big thing is a lot of moms couldn't work because you have to bring diapers to the daycare. They don't provide diapers. And so if you don't have the diapers, you can't put your baby in daycare, you can't go to work. So it's just kind of a domino effect.
Yeah, honestly, never thought about that. So, for people who haven't experienced this personally, you might be a parent, you might be even a grandparent that is familiar with diapering, but it might be hard to understand how critical a diaper really is if you can't financially afford them. Expand a little bit on how you see this providing stability for a family.
Well, I mean, some of the statistics that we've seen is nearly 1 in 2 families are struggling to afford enough diapers. And so what happens is they are keeping the kids home because they can't send them to the daycare, which means that they don't have enough money to pay rent and they can slip in even into homelessness. So people that are precariously housed, that are just barely making it, about 14% of their income is spent on diapers, which is crazy. But it's just so expensive. It's a brief period of time, but the other issue that we've seen and we've heard happening is that families that don't have stability, that are sort of moving around from place to place to try and kind of get settled, to staying with relatives or staying in extended stay hotels or even in their cars in some cases, that child, their development is somewhat stunted and they are not able to potty train because they just don't have a stable place to be and to be able to learn how to go to the bathroom. And so they're staying in diapers longer, which makes the burden even a longer term issue.
Yeah, because those diapers, the bigger the child get, they get more expensive. So you already touched on this a little bit, but one of the things that people generally don't understand or realize that diapers are not covered by food assistance programs like SNAP or WIC. And so parents, like you were saying, they're forced into impossible decisions. Do they pay for diapers? Do they pay for food, rent, transportation? And you've already touched on childcare and so many other components to it. So, Cindy, let's fold you into the conversation. Cindy, what began in Atlanta didn't stay in Atlanta, and HomeAid affiliates across the country began launching their own drives. What did that look like for you when HomeAid Colorado joined this effort? How did you present it, and how did you get involved?
It was in 2014 that we first started the Essentials Drive here in Colorado. And the first year we had 20 donation sites around the Denver metro area. And 2 years later, we had 55 drop off locations. So builders had people drop off at their model homes. Banks and mortgage companies had people drop off diapers at their locations. And then, as Mandy, I'm sure, has done in the past, you go around, you get the boxes of diapers, you take them to the service providers that need the diapers. And logistically, that's challenging and it's labor intensive and everything else. And it got so big that there was a lot of moving parts. And so one of our builder partners came up with the idea to have a 1 day drop off location in just one location, 1 day, have everybody drop off and have all the service providers come to that drop off location to pick up the diapers. At that time in 2017, we changed the name here in Colorado from Essentials for Young Lives, although it is the same type of effort to Builders for Babies. And I don't think any of us expected it to be as monumental as it has been. It's grown so much every year. The first year we really learned from the service providers. As Mandy said, not all of them need the same size diapers. And so many of the children are not being potty trained as we used to potty train them early. They're not as much because they can't do that. And so the bigger diapers were in need. And our first year of a one drop off location, we got a lot of size ones. And a lot of the service providers says we really can't use size ones. So then we have an application that we send to the service providers involved and ask them what size diapers they need and how much they can store and everything else. So we know exactly what everybody needs, what sizes they need. So we do get the right sizes to the right providers. And that's been really helpful. And Builders for Babies here has just grown. It's a great day and it's a 1 day effort. And now we're up to 60 service providers in 1 day pick up diapers. Last year, we unloaded 5 semi trucks of diapers and wipes, and we have about 350 volunteers. So it is truly an amazing day of energy and love and excitement.
That says so much. And one of the key people are the builders and your builder partners. When they first heard about the program, because these are construction companies and people, home builders and trades and suppliers, how did the builder partners initially respond to you when you brought this idea to them? Did they embrace it? Was there a sense of apprehension? What was their thoughts when you brought this up years ago?
They've all wrapped their arms around it. I think, maybe they're all related to the construction industry, but most of them have been parents, aunts, uncles, caregivers of some kind. So they've hopefully changed a diaper in their lifetime and they realize how imperative that is. A few years ago, as I was changing diapers as a grandmother and we were involved in the Builders for Babies program, I realized every time I changed a diaper how important it was to be able to reach for a clean one and have it at my disposal. I can't imagine parents, not being able to do that. And I think that's what hit everyone is it's a small need, like Mandy said, it's such a small thing, but it's a huge need and it affects families dramatically. And I think they all saw that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that it's very tangible. It's very embraceable as far as, yeah, I can go in and buy a box of diapers. It might be $50, but I can go into Costco and buy a box of diapers. So very tangible, very tactile, but truly impactful. And I think that the heartstrings and the awareness that this has raised within our industry and the community as a whole has been absolutely phenomenal. So as we look at the program today, it's become one of HomeAid's most impactful national community outreach programs. And because of the leadership of both of you and your colleagues across the country, the generosity of the builders and suppliers and community partners, the numbers are amazing. So last year alone, it was well over 5 million diapers that were collected or funds that were contributed. And over the last 5 years, the numbers are over 20 million. HomeAid has become one of the most, if not the most effective collectors and distributors of diapers to service providers and diaper banks around the country. Thousands of families. And we have 12 affiliates that are participating. Behind each of those diapers, obviously, and you both have talked about it, is a parent that is trying to care for their child. So, Cindy, you already talked about you as a grandparent and the impact, but what have you seen when you've talked to service providers or this big volunteer day? You have 350 volunteers that are out there. The service providers are coming and picking up their diapers. What is the impact that they've shared with you firsthand?
Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to read something because I have one diaper bank that always sends a thank you after Builders for Babies, and it's always so sweet. She'll even do a video about everything. But she says the Builders for Babies annual event has become the summer gathering of angels in Colorado. For the 8th year, you have brought Christmas in June to the Rocky Mountain Diaper Depot and all the participating service providers. And just to hear that, all the service providers are very grateful. They talk a lot about the moms and the dads, the families that they can help, what a difference it makes. Many of the service providers we work with, they hold on to the day that we have Builders for Babies because that's when they're really renewing their storage units and everything else. And it really is impactful for young moms, grandparents, moms, dads, everybody. And I think it has brought a big awareness of the diaper need. I remember the first time I was involved in an essentials drive, I went to buy diapers to take to one of the distribution centers. And I didn't realize diapers were so expensive. It's
Yes.
it's terrible. They are very, very, very expensive. And so I think we all believe that no parents want to choose between food or gas and diapers because unfortunately diapers are coming in at the bottom of the list. So it's a huge impact to so many people. It's a domino effect, really.
When we look at it, HomeAid in our core business, core work that we do, we're building. Mandy, you've got projects that you've got under construction for women and children, and Cindy you as well for families, et cetera. And a lot of times we have built a project and a dedication happens and we go on to the next project. This Essentials Drive and Builders for Babies has allowed you both and our affiliates around the country to really create those relationships with service providers at a deeper level and maintain the stories and the impact. And that is such an incredible piece. And then raising community awareness for people outside the building industry, as I know both of you have engaged others that are involved. So, Mandy, when you think of the parents, have you received any direct stories? Have you heard anything from other things from parents directly that have been expressed to you through a service provider?
I mean, it's mostly via service providers because we're providing the diapers. We're helping the people that are helping the people. And so we get a lot of thank yous via service providers. But the one that I was talking about earlier, where the mom was saying to the nonprofit, God bless you, I just didn't want my baby to be in this state, to have this diaper rash, and, to be crying. I just didn't know what to do. The reason that I can help my child is because of you. So, yeah, those are great when we get them. But a lot of times it's just kind of the gratitude of the nonprofits that are providing the services and just their ability to do even more because we've taken one thing off their to-do list.
Yeah, their to do lists and very tangibly their balance sheet or their budgets, because if we weren't doing this, they might have to be putting $10,000 or a number into their annual budget. And you've eliminated that, or you both have. Mandy, you already touched on this, but the aspect of prevention, because so often we're addressing these issues with directly providing housing for people that are experiencing homelessness. But prevention is such a key component that we need to bring people aware of. Can you expand on your thoughts on prevention, just either with this or as a whole, there in the Atlanta and broader Georgia community?
Part of it is just a budgeting issue. So if 14%, if a low income individual, a low income household is spending 14% on diapers and, upwards of 50% on rent, there's just really not a lot of room for food or for medicine or just for any other needs. What often happens is they're making these decisions. And so, like Cindy said, diapers are often at the bottom of the list. You need somewhere to live, you need electricity. There are just things that are more urgent than making sure you're changing your diaper 8 to 12 times a day, which is what most folks have to do. And then the bigger one, like we talked about before, is just the fact that you cannot bring your baby to daycare if you don't have diapers for them because the daycares can't afford it either. And so what's happening is moms are having to stay home, they're having to call into work, then they're losing their job. And that can be the one thing that throws off this precarious budget that they're barely maintaining. They could fall into homelessness. It just sets off a chain of events that is sometimes irreversible. I mean, an eviction is going to follow them for years and years. And so it's just such a balancing act. It's amazing that anybody does it, but it's so precarious that any one little thing can make it so that they're living in their car.
Yeah, so clearly this instability can quickly spiral into homelessness. So one of the most inspiring efforts, obviously, is how the building industry has stepped up. Cindy, I know in your community, the builders have also been very competitive with this and embraced it from a, hey, I can do better than you. Explain a little bit of how the competition has accelerated the work there in Colorado with the Builders for Babies Drive.
Well, as you already said, the home building industry is very competitive. Builders are very competitive with each other. Even the trades are really competitive. I would say that our trade partners have gotten just as competitive as the builders. And the builders go to their different trades and the manufacturers and everything else and ask them to contribute. And we do fundraising pages on our landing page so that if you give, you can say that you're giving towards this particular building company because you want them to, raise the most diapers, raise the most money for diapers. It is really competitive, but banks and mortgage companies, title companies, they've all gotten very, very involved, and it's gotten to be a really great thing. We're also this year adding to our Builders for Babies event because we have teams that maybe are at diaper stage 1, diaper stage 2, 3. We line them up according to diaper sizes, and they can dress up in theme and everything else. And as you know, even in Utah, everybody has gotten very competitive. In Orange County, it's very competitive. Across the country, everybody, I don't know, it's a really fun way to compete, I think. A
Yes.
very friendly, fun way to compete.
It clearly shows that our industry just doesn't build homes. They they do so much more, and we give them that opportunity clearly through this work. And anybody in their company and family and friends can participate. So it really is just an extension of the heart and soul of who HomeAid is. And it really reflects our full mission, construction, and then this community engagement that we built a project. You both have built projects for families, as we mentioned. This is engaging the community in it. And then we're educating. We're bringing an awareness to the community as a whole and of what this need is. And that's what this podcast is all about. So for both of you, for those that are listening, how do they get involved? What can they do? Whether or not they're a builder, a company, title company, a bank, individuals, a faith-based community, a Rotary Club. How do they get involved? Mandy, how does someone get involved with what you're doing?
They can just go to our webpage and just click on the donate button and just donate money towards the drive. We've kind of shifted the way we're doing things more towards the way Cindy's doing things. So it's more of a fundraising drive, and then we're able to purchase the diapers at a reduced rate from a larger distributor. So probably the simplest way to get involved is just go to our website at homeaidgeorgia.org and click the donate button and let us know you want us to buy diapers, and that's what we'll do.
Great. And Cindy?
Yep. We do it, like Mandy's going to do it. And so they would go to our website, homeaidcolorado.org, and donate. There's a lot of information on both our websites, I'm sure, about the diaper need and how they can get involved. And we do accept boxes of diapers day of. You can drop off diapers. You don't have to just give monetarily, but we do encourage people to give monetarily because of who we partner with to buy the diapers. We get more diapers for the amount of money that we raise.
Right. Because you both are you're leveraging that cash. I mean, clearly, if someone goes to a retailer and buys a box and brings it to you, that's a good thing. It's a great thing. But you're able to leverage the dollars in a much more effective way by buying them directly and distributing them. Well, Cindy, what's the date of your big drive? The single date when someone can come out and help out?
June 5th. Friday, June 5th is our one-day distribution day. Our fundraising drive starts the middle of April and runs to the first part of May. So we do a 3-week marketing period to tell everybody to donate. And then after we've collected the money, then we work to figure out how many diapers we can get for every single service provider and get those ordered because they come from Salt Lake City to us. So it takes a little while, but logistically, it's easier than the drop-off locations, but it still is a lot of work.
It's
It's
a
a
lot of
big
work.
day. It's a
I've
lot of
seen the
work.
photos. Yeah, it's a big
Yes.
day.
But it's fabulous. Everybody enjoys it. I mean, we're there at 6 o'clock in the morning with forklifts and pallet jacks and everything else, and everybody's excited. And we have Lippin flapjacks, serving pancakes. It's an experience.
And you have coffee from Tall Tales Ranch, which we've
We have
talked about in
coffee
the
from Tall
past.
Tales Ranch. Yes, we do.
Yeah, and we're excited. We're going to do something similar on May 8th. So this is kind of a shift for the way that we've done it before, because before we would just collect the diapers and do all of the distribution ourselves. But we're going to, on May 8th, copy Cindy and have a big day in our parking lot, hopefully with at least 2 semis full of diapers. But we'll see. We'll see how the fundraising goes.
That's great. And for those that are listening, if you're not in Colorado or Georgia, we have affiliates across the country. We'll put that in the show notes. You can go to our website and connect with a local affiliate because most of our affiliates that are participating in this are running the drive between Mother's Day and Father's Day, maybe starting in April and ending late June. And so we encourage that engagement to simply help and spread awareness. So for both of you, the drives have grown and you've both talked about logistics and you're changing and adapting because you're responding to such a great need. What do each of you hope that this drive becomes in the future for either, in Colorado or Georgia? Cindy?
This year we'll have 3 distribution days. We'll have June 5th in Denver. We have June 12th in Loveland, Colorado. And then June 18th, we're going to be in Grand Junction, Colorado, which is on the western slope of the
Yeah, over
state.
the range. Yeah.
Yeah, so we are having 3. We'll see how that goes. We have 3 distribution days this year. So we'll really have a better outreach across the state. We are HomeAid Colorado, so we take care of the entire state like HomeAid Georgia does. And as Mandy knows, there are times that that's difficult to make sure that you get everywhere. So we hope this helps. I really feel like Builders for Babies is an extension of the HomeAid mission, and I really feel like it brings awareness to the problem, to the challenges that families face, but also a lot of service providers that we've met, they come to us for diapers and then they realize that we do construction builds too. And so then we get a build project from them because they're like, oh my gosh, I need help with this or a renovation of a building. And so that has really helped HomeAid in our outreach. And I just think it's a great way for people to get involved. It's a tangible thing. Like Mandy said, it's a feel good moment that you know you're doing something really good for a family.
Oh, that's wonderful. Mandy, what do you hope for the future for the program in Georgia?
A lot of the same things that Cindy brought up, and in particular, because we were HomeAid Atlanta, so we were about a 10-county metro Atlanta area until late 2024. So October-ish is when we switched over to covering the whole state. So one of the things that we hope Essentials will do is to introduce us to new service providers throughout the state. We're having a couple of distribution days too. The one big one is on May 8th in our regular metro area. But we'll also be out in Athens closer to Father's Day, late June, and then we will be up in Augusta, kind of in between. So we'll get the May, and then sometime probably a little later in May or early June, we'll be in Augusta. So we've tried expanding in a few different ways, and I think this is going to be one that will help us reach even more folks. And just like Cindy said, what's happened over the years is people that we're giving diapers to have shifted their services and now they have a facility, or they didn't realize we built until we talked to them for a couple of years. Or the other thing that's happened often with us is it's people we built for in the past. And just because we check in with them once a year because we bring diapers, they say, wait, we have a new project for you. And so just kind of those connections, just maintaining those connections and making new connections. So I think that's my biggest hope for the Essentials Drive this year, is that as we expand and as we solidify our relationships throughout the state, that'll just let even more folks know who we are and what we do. And then really the education piece, where when you think of homelessness, a lot of people have a picture in their mind and it's a male on the street with a sign. That's not how homelessness looks. And just understanding that there is such a huge need and that we can meet that need at least a little bit once a year.
Yeah. So, Mandy, you kind of answered my next question, that what's the one thing you hope people understand that are listening to this podcast, what that would be? And you kind of answered that. Is there anything else you'd want, kind of a key takeaway? And then Cindy, I'll ask you the same question.
I mean, it's about 80% of people experiencing homelessness are folks that you don't see, because they don't want to be seen. They're staying with relatives or in an extended stay hotel or, in their car even, or they've found a program and they are in a shelter. So it's not folks that you would typically think of when you think of homelessness. And that's one of the biggest things that we've been educating for the 25 years that we've been in existence, is homelessness is not just the visible homelessness that you see on the street. There's a lot of folks, and a lot of them are families, and a lot of them are babies, and they have different needs. And we're just happy we can meet those needs.
Absolutely. Cindy, what would you hope people that are listening will take away from today?
That there's so many people at risk of homelessness. And I think Mandy and I have both touched on that the families that we can help by providing diapers maybe are just on the brink of being in their car or being on the streets. And in that small way that we can help, we are helping a lot of families that are at risk of homelessness. And so many are just on that fine line, and we want to keep them on the right side of that line. And if we can help do that, that makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. So as we close out today's conversation reminds us that preventing homelessness doesn't always begin with just building the housing. It begins with meeting basic human needs that with dignity and compassion and something simple and as essential as a diaper. Thank you, Mandy and Cindy, for your leadership and helping grow this into a national movement along with your colleagues across the country. And to everyone listening, you can be a part of this story, because when we come together, small acts create lasting change. Thank you for joining us on Unsheltered Conversations. I'm Scott Larson.